Okay, hello everyone, and we are live, Nisha. So I'm here today doing an extra live apart from the one I do every morning because today is a very special day. It's Children's Day. It's my favorite category of humans. And I'm here with Nisha, the founder of Ariro Toys, and it's going to be a very interesting, different conversation. We are not really going to talk about nutrition. We're not going to talk about the stuff that I usually talk about. But Nisha is really here to give her perspective, and she does some incredible work, which I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to let her introduce herself. So Nisha, why don't you tell our audience what is it that you do and who you are?
Sure. Thank you, Mugdha. Thank you for this opportunity. Hello everybody. I am Nisha Ramasamy, founder and ideator at Ariro Wooden Toys. Ariro is a wooden toys and developmental aids brand, which focuses on 0 to 3 years. And we use the Montessori philosophy to create our products. And we mainly focus on 0 to 3 years because it's a known fact that about 80% of the brain development takes place in this period. And also this is one of the ages where children cannot like basically express, or they cannot basically communicate much, or at least not everybody is equipped to understand what they are communicating at this period. So we want to ensure that we want to make sure they get the optimum development and ensure that we bring the potential out completely. So that's exactly what we do at Ariro. And I guess you can catch us on Instagram, and we are out there in all social media platforms. And obviously have our website, which is arirotoys.com.
So Nisha, my question is why wooden toys, right? Like you could have gone into the toys category. Yes, brain development is highest, like that's where most of the cognitive change happens, and like a lot of the neural pathways are laid at that age. So why wooden? What's the focus on wooden?
We started Ariro for a purpose because when I had my baby, we were scouting for purposeful toys, and we wanted to ensure that we give her natural material. So apart from us saying just wood, we wanted her to, wanted her to have natural materials. One reason being that's what is encouraged in the Montessori method as well. The other reason was she had a skin condition basically.
Oh, okay.
So we just figured out that when she was using plastic toys, she started reacting to them. So that's when we started actually doing our research, trying to understand what was the harm by using these products, and we gradually started shifting her towards completely natural material. When we started scouting in the market, Indian market, back in 2016, there were very limited options. And even the ones that were available in our market was being imported from abroad. At that point, about 90% of the toys were being imported into our country.
Oh.
So that was a sad fact for us. And being, like people who encourage native brands, we were not able to take it up. So we kind of like basically hired a carpenter, and I had few designs in mind, and we got it made for her. And a lot of people around us started questioning us, like, why don't you do it for every other children out there? Like, there's definitely a lack in the market. So that's why we noticed the white space, and we decided, fine, like let's try it out and see.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's how Ariro's journey began. And to answer your question, wood as a material is natural, and it kind of gives the children a sensorial fulfillment. That's the sensitivity that children of this age group have. So basically, we are supposed to introduce them to as much as natural material as possible. And we started with wood because we have a history, right? Our ancestors kind of like given us a lot of wooden toys, and we used brush wooden sticks as brush, so they've been a part of our lifestyle. So when we dug a bit deeper into it, we understood it has a lot of benefits. So that's when we decided, let's go ahead with it.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm so happy that you actually cracked that her allergies were really happening because of her plastic toys, right? Because otherwise it could have remained a mystery and she could have at what age did she like as soon as she started playing with plastic toys that started happening?
She had this condition from 3 months. So she used to react to a lot of materials. For instance, clothing. So we were able to put her in only cotton outfits, nothing other than cotton. So gradually we started observing what was causing things. So she had food allergies as well, and plastic toys were just one of it.
That's great, yeah. Like it's really great that you could find a solution also. So the topic of today is how kids learn by having fun, right? And I mean,
Yes.
toys play a big role in that. What has been like? What's your background also? I mean, I don't know that. I just know that you're the founder of this amazing company that makes toys that keep our kids safe. But what's your background? How did you really start?
So basically, I'm an engineer by education, but somehow right from the beginning, engineering was not appealing to me at all. So I kind of shifted my paths with when I came across the Montessori method of education. So I got myself trained in Montessori, and I was a teacher basically. So I
Ah.
was working full time as a Montessori teacher before my daughter was born. So once she was born, I kind of needed to spend a lot of time with her because of her condition as well. And simultaneously, since we were developing these toys and materials for her, we thought, why don't we take it up and go ahead with it full time?
So what's the role of fun in a child's learning process, right? Like, why is it like this morning we do this opening circle, closing circle every day, right? We start our day with that and end our day with that. And someone from the team had suggested yesterday that let's all come dressed as children, and three of us, while like seven, eight people said yes, three of us actually showed up like that. So I had two ponytails on my head in the morning. But I asked them, right, like, what do you remember the most about your childhood, right? Like, what is it that you can recall? And most of, like, I think 95% of them said, like, the parts of the childhood that they like really the most were the parts when they were having fun, right? When they were playing, when they were outdoors, when, like, the break time in school, not the school as much as the break time, or like when they were like going and hanging out with friends, right? So every adult here, like all of them are adults, right? But every adult here, when you ask them about childhood, they only remember the parts that were fun. So, and I was like, it's great that you and I are having this conversation today because it just seems like a segue into that, right? So, what's your understanding as a Montessori teacher, as a mom, of the entire learning process and how pivotal fun is to that?
So to derive from what you just briefed, right? Why do we all remember only the fun parts? I mean, why is that part basically fun? Was because we were independent and we were given that opportunity to explore that time to what we wanted to do. So basically, that's the Montessori method as well. So basically, what it says is that we have to identify the sensitivities of a child and provide them with the right aid. So fun comes from within the child, so we
Hmm.
don't have to enforce the child with anything. We just provide them with the right material and leave them at it. And as they explore in their own ways, they somewhere start to understand how it works, and they understand what they kind of feel with that particular material or the people around them or their surroundings. It can be anything, right? So when they are exploring at their own pace, they kind of start having fun. So them learning is fun. So what we see as fun is nothing but their own learning processes. And why these instances have stuck within us is because we've learned something through those
Yes.
instances, right? So when we were with a group of friends, we learned a lot of things. I think most of our social skills are based out of that. So the interaction that we have as children with our peers is what we are exactly doing as adults right now. So I think more than what we learned in school, what our teachers taught through the blackboard and through exams, the practical learning is what has shaped what we are today. So I think everybody who is out there chasing their passion would agree with me. So somewhere down, like what we were doing, something that we were sensitive towards when we were children, is what exactly we are doing right now. So people who
Yes.
enjoy their jobs would definitely agree with me. I think the rest of us are trying to still figure out what is that and trying to pursue
No,
that.
no, I agree. I think experiential is the only way to learn, right? And like,
Definitely.
for me also, like, I even in college, I would always get like full marks in practicals, right? But theory, I would not be so good, like, because it was like you're just like learning by rote, and then you're just printing back on paper what you learned, right? Like, who wants to do that? But the amount of nutrition knowledge now, like, that's there inside my brain now, right, is because experientially I've learned so much, right, through my own journey, through my clients' journey, through the teams. So that ability to learn cohesively and like the fun element is because you're learning it through an experience, and
Exactly.
that's what we remember the most, right? And I think if you take fun out of learning, there's no learning happening. It's just like you're just trying to create robotic zombies, like, who will just
Definitely.
recite the same thing over and again.
And I
uh,
think it's also out of their own will, right? Nobody is forcing them
yeah.
to do it. So when they do it by themselves, that's the best kind of learning that can happen, and it's naturally fun. I think there's a famous quote in Montessori which says, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So the more a child manipulates a toy, the more they are learning from it. So I think that's the best thing that a parent has to observe and let the child be one with whatever they're doing and not interfere or disturb while they're at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents use toys also for societal validation, right? Like, bacha dikha do, yellow toys, blue toys, right? Like, they're just trying to use. I've seen that really happen in my own family and sometimes in my own daughters, like the moms, right? Like, not making the toy fun, but now making the toy a part of something else, which is like
There's
trying
also
to
something
showcase the child's
forced.
intelligence and
Definitely. I think sometimes even children are being forced to complete a puzzle. Something
yeah.
that they are supposed to do it out of their own interest is being like forced upon them. So that is something I think as millennial parents, most of them have already realized that. I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing right now, because they want more purposeful play for their children. They're not like anymore into not understanding what's happening in the toy sector. Usually, like when we were children, I think our parents didn't even know what kind of toys we were playing with, or they did not give a heed to what kind of toys to pick up in the market, right? Usually we went and we just said we wanted something and we picked it up. But these
Actually,
days,
now that you mention it, for me, I grew up in Whitefield. It was a village before it became this IT monster that it is, right? So I grew up there, and for us, like play was all outdoors.
definitely,
It was
yeah.
like climbing trees and making make believe objects, right? Like using mud and water, and then making these little kitchen things. Like we'd make vessels with that and dry it out in the sun. And the limited toys, they were like really limited, right? So somebody would have given a gift, some doll, and I never was interested in like playing indoors with those toys as much as I was interested in like going outdoors and digging soil and climbing trees and like making that kind of stuff up. And there was no purpose. Like my mom never thought, oh, like what is this contributing to my like. Sometimes I see a lot of toys that are designed for academic purposes, right? Like play with
I
this
think
toy.
that was, in fact, the best kind of play, what you just
Yeah,
briefed, right? The outdoor experience. A lot of children these days are lagging that because you don't have the
spaces
facilities
also.
for
Yeah.
it or the space for it. And we used to have so many peers that we grew up with. There used to be like at least 3 to 4 children of your same age group, and
Yes.
few of them a year older or year younger. So you had a lot of interaction happening there and a lot of experiential play. But right now,
Including the sharing and all of that. Sorry, I interrupted. You were saying right now.
yeah, so right now the children are actually they don't have that opportunity, so that's one of the sad parts that the children of
And
this
I
era is
think
going through.
the lockdowns really made it worse, right? Because the sense of isolation that happened, that absolute lack. In fact, that's what I spoke about this morning in my live also, like how the lockdowns are really the worst for our children. Because that sense of isolation, that not being able to integrate with your peers. There were kids who were born in the lockdowns and who didn't even know what it really means to interact with other humans the same size, right? They were only with adults in their lives. So yeah, I think the lockdowns really made it worse. To me now, the question, there are some questions that are coming up in chat. I will ask you those, but
Sure.
the like did you also then see any research and any science on, because that's something that we do also, we when we work, even when we work with adults, we actually eliminate a lot of toxins, right, including the utensils and the personal care products and all of that. Have you seen any research that's been done around like toys, plastics, and how it could be impacting children's physical as well as mental health?
Yeah, there have in fact been a lot of researches that has been published by WHO as well, and
Hmm.
which in fact stresses how harmful plastics are. And in fact, the kind of plastics that we were being exposed to, our children being exposed to, had high level of toxicity. And in fact, the research states that about a credit card amount of plastic is what a child consumes in forms of teethers, especially in the teething stage when children are given with plastic teethers or plastic toys. They naturally put it in their mouth. So there's nothing that you can stop a young child from doing that, but naturally it gets into their bloodstream. So there are a lot of research that backs up this, and it also matters the kind of chemicals that goes into as a composition as a part of toy making. In fact, there are also a lot of wooden toys, which claims to be wooden toys, but there are a lot of toxicity in that as well. If they don't select the right kind of paints for the toys or the right kind of fillers for the toys, so a lot of things can go wrong over there. But right now, the government has taken the initiative, and they have brought in a lot of certifications which are in progress. I think BIS is one of that. So they are bringing in a lot of methods to curb it and ensure that this sector is being taken care of. And I think that's also with the awareness that comes as parents are also like demanding those kind of points. They are taking note of it right now. So there are things that's being put in place.
Oh, great. So, in my work also, like what we do here at iThrive, right? Like people come to us with chronic diseases, and we've seen like with younger children, especially. See, it's already the environment is horrible, right? It's not the same air that our grandparents, my mom, even I grew up in, right? This air is like super toxic. So their little bodies are already so overwhelmed with what's coming from the environment, and then if you add in like all the non-stick utensils, the teflons, and then like all the preservatives, additives that are coming in from the food that they're eating, right, processed foods, and then like toys, and then personal care products, like in fact Johnson and Johnson, like people who use Johnson and Johnson baby care powder, now they've recalled it because it was found to be carcinogenic, right? So
Yeah.
what we've seen is young bodies, like little children, get easily burdened by toxins because their systems are not really designed to deal with so many toxins on a day-to-day basis. Even their livers, kidneys, everything is small. So they actually present with so many illnesses that weren't even there. Like a lot of the diagnosis of, we work with kids even on the spectrum, right? Like autism spectrum. Sometimes the diagnosis, the ADHD and all of that, that could have been given to the child as a diagnosis, right? When we eliminate these toxins, when we clean up their food, when we like help the gut heal, the brain stops going into this overwhelmed hyperactive mode, right? And the child just calms down. So it's
Yeah.
like in your daughter's case, you could see it very evidently on the skin, like you could see it, right? But sometimes when it's like inside the gut, inside the brain, parents can't see that this thing is like percolating and going in and causing harm, and all that they see is the outward behavior, like the symptoms, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
crying, anxiety, irritation, anger. It's because the child's like the nervous system itself is inflamed because of all of these
And I
poisons
think
going there.
screen is also another major threat that people are
Yeah,
dealing with.
there is a question actually somebody asked. I was going to keep the screen thing for that question, but since you started, so this person asked this question. Is VR gaming a superior alternative to standard video games since they help provide physical exercise? I don't even know if you want to say whether VR is better than standard gaming. My question to you would be like the digital devices versus real play.
Yeah, so I think for children between 0 to 2, it's a strict no. So screen time is something that none of the experts or doctors advise. So 0 to 3 years is a strict no for screen. From 2 to 5, it's you can go for about 1 hour, and from 5 to 7, it is about 2 hours. So this is the standard norm after all the research and everything they have put together. But it also matters what they are exposed to, right? After two, even if they're going to see things on the screen, what kind of things are they allowed to see? So we have to keep it as natural as possible. So that is something that we need to take into account. So be it toys or be it screen time, be it anything that we give them, it has to be as natural and as practical as possible. So in fact, cartoons or gaming and everything is a strict no for children. So they are allowed to watch documentaries or anything that provides them with real time information.
All right. So in terms of the screen, one is like what they're watching and the impact it has on the brain, but also we've been researching a lot on EMFs, right? Like electromagnetic frequencies and blue light itself, like artificial
Yes.
light that's coming from screen and hitting their eyes. So a lot of parents complain about their kids' sleep timing not really being coordinated, or the kid is not sleeping in the night, and then that's disturbing the parents' sleep. And often we found like the root causes are these devices only, because our brain, like the pineal gland and all of that, it makes melatonin in response to the sun's rhythm, right? Like we
Yeah.
have a circadian rhythm, and the more we allow our eyes to be exposed to the natural light and the less to this blue light, the better that system operates. Now if you're putting kids in front of screens all through the day, their eyes are only perceiving this artificial blue light, right? And then some kids are like lockdown classes were insane. Kids were on Zoom calls until 8 p.m. and all. I was like, what the, what is really going on in this world,
That's
right?
one of the worst things that the children of this age experience, because we constantly repeat no screen time, no blue light, but that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened for 2 years, I think, and that was really overwhelming for these kids, especially
Yeah.
for the young ones.
It messed up a lot of their neurochemistry, their biochemistry, right? So if you're a parent watching this and if your kid has issues with sleep and like a good routine, just eliminate all like screens that have blue light. It's easy for me to say. I know as a parent, it's the most difficult thing for you to do, but it's really something that has a negative impact. Like we shouldn't be exposing ourselves to any blue light at all, but in today's times it's not possible. Like you and I are also having this conversation on a screen, but at least this time of the day is when the sun is at its peak, so the eyes are also kind of used to bright light coming. But like later, maybe 5 p.m. onwards, put that blue light filter and like just do all of that. There's a very good filter called Lux that can be used, but do not expose your kids to blue light after the sun starts going down. Keep them in as much yellow natural light as possible. It's really, really important. So reading is a good idea at that time in yellow light. This question though is VR gaming superior to standard video games since they help provide some physical exercise. Do you want to take that one?
So I think, as a Montessori expert, that's not my expertise too, because the age group which I specialize in is not supposed to be exposed to any screen time.
Yeah.
I think I'm not the right person to answer that question. So
Yeah,
I
I might not have any expertise in understanding VR and video games and all, but like just as a human being, I think like either of them are bad options. Like I just say no, right? Like
Yeah,
just
because
play,
I
like do real play, right?
they stimulate your brain a little too much. That's not the right amount of stimulation for children, especially. I'm not sure about adults, but definitely not for children.
And the level of aggression in some of those games, that's not even good psychologically, right? Like you're just killing, shooting, killing, and just blood splattering all over the screen. Like what are you really teaching through that game? Some people claim that it teaches dexterity and it creates a degree of mental agility and all of that, but I just think you're getting dopamine hits, and the minute that play stops, the dopamine goes down. You see how the kid actually turns. It actually
Yeah.
is quite addictive, the entire circuit there. So it's a no from me, Ranodi, for that question. Like neither are good. The only thing good is like kids go play outdoors or like with their
And I
peers
think
or
there's
with
a lot
real
of
physical toys.
exactly. There are a lot of other play materials which would actually improvise the dexterity and everything that you were just talking about. There are a lot of other options. And I think even chess, as a matter of fact, is a very good mind game, right? So there's
Yeah.
something that we can do indoors or outdoors with toys and other kind of play rather than video games.
All right. So here's another interesting question. How would different milestones in a child's development demand for fun differently?
So basically, the milestones in a child is something that I think, as an adult or a caregiver, they are supposed to observe, because there are something called as sensitive periods. So the child at these sensitive periods is particularly sensitive to a particular aspect. For example, if a child is trying to climb onto everything, that means that the child is sensitive towards climbing. So we have to provide them with the
Oh,
right aids. So that naturally turns into fun for them. So children sometimes, like, they are sensitive towards language. You can see them all of a sudden they're talking a lot, they're trying to understand different words, they are reusing the words that we are using to them usually. So that means that they're sensitive towards language. So we have to encourage more language based activities. We can read stories with them, or have games based on words. We can have story games. We can just ask them to look around and pick out things from the environment and have a conversation based on that, or play the I Spy game with them. So we are supposed to, like, kind of encourage them more towards that aspect. So
that's
with
very interesting. Yeah, because I saw that with my own daughter. I mean, she
yeah,
would have physical fun, but she would enjoy activities where she and I together were like doing language. Like we learned sign language also together. There was no need for it, right? But it was just another way of communicating between the two of us. And very early, at 6 months, I started teaching her basic signing, and she would sign back. And from then I saw that her interest in like activities that were related to language, right? Like learning words, learning how to form sentences, and then creating stories, like that is something that she loved most, more than like intense physical games of like sports is not something that she really took to ever, right? She liked games of running and catching, hide and seek, and like those kind of mad games, right? Like where everyone's screaming and like playing around. But yeah, she liked the language thing more. Like now that you say it, I remember. Versus me as a kid, I really like climbing trees. I like nature. Like I would be
I
outdoors.
think that is innate in all of them. So, like you can see toddlers sometimes they try to lift something really heavy, and we'll be like, "What exactly are they up to?" But that's a innate sensitivity that asks them to lift something heavy. So you
Wow.
just find them randomly moving stuff from one end of the house to another and pushing stuff. So at that particular time, if we observe that and give them the right kind of play, right, you just give them a bunch of blocks, big blocks, and ask them to move it from this end to other, and make it a game. So they're going to enjoy doing that.
So,
And when they're
so this is like kids who like throwing things and they just want to pick things and play with them. That's what you're saying, is it?
yeah, so you have to just basically observe where they are coming from and what kind of things are they enjoying at that particular point and provide them with the right aid. So instead of encouraging them to push everything around the house or carry everything around the house, make a game around that. You have your own set of materials and introduce them and teach them how to play with that or manipulate that, and let them do the rest. You step out of the frame there, like let them like explore it by themselves and show them how to put it back. So that's as much as adult interference it can take place there. The rest is all with the child, they just explore it.
That's so cool. Okay. Does the type of wooden toy the children plays with impacts the children's health? For example, your toys are mostly made with neem wood. Wood toys made of different wood make a difference.
I think the wood doesn't matter, but it's the processing that happens, because
Okay.
most of the wood, in fact, to give a cheaper product, they kind of tend to add chemicals to it, or the processing is chemically done and not naturally done. So that's the only aspect that you need to look into before selecting a product, and just ensure that the kind of paint or any other add-ons to the toy that's been used, that's child safe. But
Oh, okay.
otherwise, wood as a material, it needs to be treated properly though, because certain wood reacts to the environment and it can develop some microbial activities. We just ensure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that, right? Like wood is so prone to mold and fungus, and then like I know mycotoxins are a big, big health hazard. Like in the work we do, right? It can even cause autoimmune diseases. So, how do you? Because like a kid who is like maybe in the 0 to 1 year age category might be drooling and like chewing on the toy also, and that's like enough moisture for fungus to grow. So that like does neem kind of prevent that? How do you do that? How do you
So
take?
basically, the neem wood that we use for making into our teethers and rattles is naturally processed. So
Hmm.
it's kind of, some wood is like it's processed for about 6 to 8 years. So it loses any moisture traces in it, and it's
Hmm.
just left with the goodness of the wood. So neem
Hmm.
as a wood itself, when it's naturally processed, it completely prevents any microbial activity. So even if the saliva is going to like repeatedly, it's going to get on the product, it's not going to allow any kind of microbial activities to
Cool.
take place.
Nice. So you spoke of like how people kind of put fillers and all in the processing to kind of make it cheaper, right? Now your toys, have you seen a resistance, a pushback from parents? Like what has been the acceptability in the market? Because
So
sometimes like we
basically,
do things that are premium and we love, like even the services we offer are quite premium, right? Because we know the quality. But how has the market reacted to you? I'm,
so
I'm
I
asking
think
as a business person.
the first, what I told you is like our friends and family were the first people who supported and encouraged us. But naturally, friends and family's feedback, it's like definitely they're going to be very nicely on your face.
Very biased towards yeah.
So we kind of did a lot of traveling first initially. So
Hmm.
we went to places where Montessori is already validated. The
Hmm.
European countries or in the America, it's a well-established principle and it's been practiced for a very long time now. I don't know if it's a fact. It's a fact that Montessori has been around for 100 years, and in fact, Dr. Maria Montessori, started her elementary classroom for the first time in India here in
Wow.
Theosophical Society in Chennai. But somehow India is like still lagging in the Montessori method. So we went to the countries where it's already validated and understood how it's being received there, and we came back and we just introduced two products to test the market. So we launched only Nemu teethers and rattles, and with the response that we got from our customers, we established Ariro Toys after 2 years of research in 2020. So we did
Oh,
enough market research before we launched our brand actually.
Great. That's really. And did you guys get fund? How you like? Are you funded? Are you bootstrapped? You doing it yourself?
We are bootstrapped. So the first funding, in fact, kicked in this year from Shark Tank. So basically, we went to Shark Tank for the mentorship and not for the funds. In fact, so
Hmm.
you can actually claim that we are still a bootstrapped brand.
Nice. That's really, really great to you, and congratulations
Thanks a
on
lot.
accomplishing that. All right. So for me, I think I asked most of the questions I had to ask. How do people like those of the people who are from our audience who don't really know too much about your brand? If they had to pick up toys, where do they go? Do you have a website? And then we'll put that in the show notes also. Do you have an Instagram handle? What would that be?
Yeah, so we do have a website. So website is the major platform where our customers, we get our customers from. So it's www.arirotoys.com. And we are also available on Amazon and Prescribe. And we are also available on 43 stores in Hamleys across India.
Okay. So you, oh,
And
you guys are in families also. Cool,
yeah,
cool. So
so
is
very
it
soon
right
you
at
can
the
find.
right website, arirotoys.com?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
So very soon
Cool.
you can also find us in Mothercare. So we've recently signed up with them. So we are supplying to Mothercare as well.
Nice. This is so good to hear. I'm really, I love it when brands that create their stuff do it because of a personal story behind it, right? Like, and then it's something that's really humanity positive. Like, you're really adding more value to humans, right? And then, like, to hear you guys expanding and being successful is just so good to hear that. So I think we've kind of covered our time. Also, we'd agreed to kind of speak for 30 minutes. Thank you so much. I think there were some very interesting questions that came from the audience as well. I loved hearing your story. And when the team actually reproduces and has their own kids, I'll make sure I'll buy, buy the toys from you guys. But like all the best to you guys. Really good, lovely, lovely talking to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I think you guys are also doing a fantastic job in iThrive. So, in fact, I was just listening to some of your videos once I got to know about you guys, and in fact, it was my husband who told me that like you guys are doing a good job, and I think I should definitely do this because first the show was offered to him. I think so.
Oh,
Then he
okay.
said, "I'm the right person to be talking about it." So he's in fact. We're doing this together at Ariro Toys. So he takes care of the business side of it, and I take care of the ideation. So you guys are also doing a fantastic job, and
Thank
thanks a
you.
lot for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts. It's been a while since we did something, that's just not about the brand, but something good for the children out there.
Yeah.
And a very happy Children's Day to everyone out there.
Yes, a very happy Children's Day to everyone. Take care of your kids, parents. It's a responsibility and I think an experience to be cherished. So don't make them like this is something that I get so annoyed by, right? That people parents make their children the projection of their unfulfilled ambitions, right? So uh, yeah. So take care of your kids, take care of their health, they'll figure out life on their own. Just let them play. I saw this really cute video on Facebook or Instagram where this Chinese little kid is howling and she's asking her dad, like, what did I do wrong? Have I been mean to you? Have I hurt you? Do I behave badly with you? And he's like, no, no. And then she's like, why are you not giving me time to play? Why am I doing homework all day? And it's like, it's such a, like, it's from a heart that she's really crying. Right? Like, how can I study like this all day? So, parents watching this, please be kind to your kids. When, as an adult, the only thing you'll remember is the time you had fun. So,
I
um,
think if we see our children as individuals and not projections of ourselves, I think the problem gets
yeah,
sorted.
I know, but yeah, there's a long time. Like,
We
we'll talk offline about that. But anyway, so thank you so much for those of you who are there watching this. And I'm sure a lot of people sometimes catch up with these live shows later in the day because this is middle of the workday for a lot of people. But thank you, Nisha, so much, and all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.